Rosie, before you explode, we got it here. The floor is yours.
Awesome. Okay, thank you, Fed. Really good input. Chad, I have something to say. So I joined Probate last year, and I quite frankly joined Probate because I was just tired of doing that packaged retail listing, buy, sell, because once you all will experience, I'm sure you already have probably, a certain level of repetition in that transaction, your intelligence is going to seek some challenge or some more usability. So Chad, I will share this with you. Since last year, I'm very proud to say that we have acquired over 4 rental properties, and my living and my property taxes are free. So I can officially say I'm living free. My renters are paying for it. And I couldn't have done it had I not opened my mind up to how to become more usable as a realtor. The quote 90% of the training in the marketplace is about how to get number of listings under your belt, how to build a team, how to build. Trust me, I went that route. I had ISAs for a year. I had to do it to know that's not me. And trust me, if anybody qualified for that ISA role where you could have built a big team, I thought we were the ones because we started our business with prospecting and we have made over $1 million in our career. What I'm trying to get to is that I would love those people who create syndicates. I would love to know who's buying real estate on our outskirts. When I spoke to Aaron, they're buying up to $350 million worth of real estate anywhere in Austin. Here is why. Because just 2 weeks ago, I had an opportunity to convert a $4,500 commission income to actually a $60,000 net worth equity in a property and a rental that's going to pay for the car I will choose to buy. I will share this with you guys, Rose. In real estate, a lot of transactions will give you good profit. You will have good $300,000-$400,000 coming to you. But I will tell you this, you would be the highest paid employee unless you really figure it out to scale it. I learned that was not my way. I'm more of an investor mind. I'm okay with having short sale conversations. I have done short sales chat since last year. And I have converted my own investors. I sat in the room and finally this real estate attorney who was helping all these investors just, knocked me out of my head. He said, you gotta think outside the box. I have never been told that in my life. I thought I was very out of the box thinker. But it's somebody who was even more outside the box had to knock me out of my reality. So what's wrong with becoming more useful to a person who's giving their hour of their time? They trusted us already. I want to know if I can sell your property for top dollar. Not everybody wants, sometimes we don't get listings because people don't want to do the work to go on the market. I am selling to 15% of the market when I sell retail. But if I go investments, 85% of the transactions are happening off the market. Doesn't matter how good of a realtor we become, there's still FSBOs. I want to be marketable to FSBOs, to expires, to short sales, to probates. And that will happen by having access to those people who are needing us. If we understand their struggle and our struggle, and we have an open communication about it, I'm sure there's business to be done. So a probate attorney is looking for a realtor like us, and I'm looking for an attorney who can answer a simple question to move my ball forward. So that's all.
Thank you. You are one of I point to you more often than I've really enjoyed watching you grow into this and seeing you want to grow more. The faster you grow, it seems like the more you want to. And we definitely need more and more of that in our culture. And all you guys, everybody here these are all very familiar names. So thank you guys for your input.
I want to tell Rosie, I saw her video last year. I was trying to find it again. I was very impressed with it. And so I wanted to talk to her. She's open to do that.
Yes, definitely. We'll connect. I just direct messaged you and we'll send you my number and we'll chat.
Okay, great. We'll go out. We'll connect after this. Thank you.
You got this question. First, I did go to the local bank and open an account with the LLC to figure out what kind of loans they would be willing to offer me. Remember the presentation you mentioned last week that go to 4 or 5 banks and open that. Just to make sure I'm able to make full use of my time with them. Do you have something on top of your mind that you always found beneficial getting as financial lines of credit or loans that help us invest again? Or because here's what I'm thinking, what will work for me in the investment world will naturally work for other people when they are doing their probates and their rentals. I would love to hear from you on that.
So ask me the question again, like what you want to know, what would be beneficial to proactively have in place?
Yes, like I have rentals, right? So we created LLCs for that. So I'm actually creating the accounts with them So we are showing them, okay, this is the book of business, this is the property's worth, this is the rental agreements. So we can start getting lines of equities against the appreciation to reinvest again.
Tell me, are you viewing your rental portfolio as we'll own this forever, or do you have an end date in mind?
I would like to switch to consolidate it into a multiplex eventually. Right now, there's a single family or duplex. So
one of the things you might do, you can consider to proactively access all that equity under one note, is to actually put a blanket commercial lien across all assets and then draw a commercial line of credit against that. Now, what you want to make sure is that they are okay giving you a partial release, because if you ever change your mind and you want to sell one of 5 assets, you need a partial release in order for them to release the lien on that one title. So like that structure can be extremely beneficial, mainly, and it saves you a ton of finance charges. You don't have to go refinance 5 things, and so having a blanket commercial lien across a portfolio can serve you in a lot of ways. Just make sure that the bank is willing and has a history of allowing partial releases for select asset sales. So that's something you could do to get all your money in one bucket for other investments. The other thing that you should discuss with them is, what if you deposit even more cash into a CD and then draw a commercial line of credit using the CD as collateral? And some banks will give you as much as a 5-to-1 leverage on that.
5-to-1 leverage? Wow. Yep. Okay, sounds good. I'll look into it.
The other thing, if you didn't cover this already, obviously just a general business line of credit, and just a trick that like with First Citizens Bank, the one that I use for this most often, as long as I keep the request at 49, like below $50,000, it doesn't even have to go through underwriting. So every time I start a new business bank account, I ask for a credit card. Like on the new company that I formed, literally the EIN number was like 2 hours old, and they gave me a 49 commercial line of credit and a $75,000 credit card with 3% cash back. And God knows I'll never use all that. I haven't drawn down a single dollar. But when it's hitting the fan, it's nice to know you have strike money, right? You've got liquidity. So anyways, that's like the things, like ask for the business credit card, ask for the business line of credit, ask for a CD with a line against it, ask about the blanket lien across the assets you already control.
Sounds great. Sounds great. So Chad, real quick, I would love your input into this kind of prospecting. So I'm sitting with a lot of investors, and of course I'm telling them that I'm a probate specialist as well. So naturally I'm attracting leads, Chad, that don't have will, and heirs are not on the board, are on the same page to move forward. I've done a couple of transactions already, but I'm receiving a little pushback because investors naturally are prospecting people who are going through foreclosures. So these people are on the foreclosure list and the owner has been deceased. So the foreclosure date keeps getting pushed back since last May. And just now I'm realizing that moratorium is not going to be lifted until January of next year. And COVID is officially the short sale hardship. There are a bunch of hardships for short sales. COVID-19 is actually officially a hardship. So they're encouraging people for loan modification. And I can see people haven't made mortgage payments since May of last year in some cases. So I would love to know your perspective, like how can I angle my conversation here where the urgency is foreclosure, that they're going to lose everything and they will act, but they keep gaining time. Like, where do you foresee this stopping, or how should we handle those leads?
We're talking about in general, not if a death has or has not occurred, just general.
Yeah, like it has already occurred. Heirs are not cooperating because the foreclosure got pushed up another 3 months now, and the deal is becoming that much thinner for prospective and buyer.
Yeah, and I would point to educate yourself on the policy behind this. But basically what they're doing is they're just re-amortizing the loan and tacking the balance onto the loan amount. So ultimately they're going to end up paying a lot more money. And I would probably go the financial route. It's hard. The stick has been put away and it's going to continue. So you can use the carrot of, hey, wouldn't it feel good to have more equity, and wouldn't it feel good to have this asset paid off sooner? There's not much that you can do with a stick right now, because we just keep kicking that can down the road and deferring that responsibility to pay back debt. So I would point to the positives of actually selling the asset or continuing to pay on the asset. And these are these with equity or without equity?
They got solid equity. Like one of the deals that I did is that none of the heirs were on board. And the guy was like, had bad blood with his parents and didn't want to, even look at anything regarding the property. And my investor, like the second investor I bought, he was like, let's buy it, whatever it takes. And he finally increased the earnest money for a normal 1% to almost 20K and showed full commitment with the title company. And they all acted up. So it's good. But I can see this deal would have closed in last December. Our sellability to our investor is much better than I'm closing now. There's 5 months of late HOAs, there's 5 months of late payments, more interest, more attorneys, trustees involved, right? Our follow-up is much more different because once it's in the foreclosure, you have to call the trustee to make sure the foreclosure is pushed off or not. Investors want to have an assurance that the deal is going to close, right? Before they're willing to put all that money and effort into it. So although it was not exactly probate, but by learning probate and sitting in investors, I'm attracting this business where there are multiple heirs. They don't have a will. So the owner passed away and there's no will. So in that case, I have to do affidavit of heirships. And it's very encouraging to know a foreclosure date because you can use that as an urgency to get everybody together. Now that they know it's pushed off, they have more things that they want to.
Yeah, I think the urgency, you can create some urgency by helping them focus on the financial side of the decisions the choices they've made. I think a lot of people perceive this as a free ride, and it's ultimately going to cost them a lot more money. Now, the thing is, like it's such the kicking the can comes with a lot of restrictions too. So they're not going to be able to charge a higher interest rate. It's just going to draw it out over more time. And the inflation, because of money printing, is going to help pay off that debt. So the banks are really losing this time, but it's pointing them to the accrual of the interest and the time value of money is about the only motivating factor that you have for them. I want to ask you this, as a savvy young woman, if you were in their position, what would it take to motivate you? What would you do? Assuming, and we need to make the assumption that you take your own values and put those aside, like you're missing the payments. I don't think you're the person that would ever miss the first payment, but let's assume you did. What would motivate you to get out of that situation when you control the asset, you can get the income off of it, and you know that you got another 18 months or 24 months or 36 months, who knows? Like, what motivates you?
Very good question, Chad. Matter of fact, I ended up asking myself that question to re-engage this lead. And I still have these two questions on front of my notebook that I really ask every prospect. I would ask my uncooperative heirs, how would you feel giving away what's rightfully yours in this property? If we don't act now and we don't take advantage of the market now, the debt continues to go up. So I'll ask my heirs who are not cooperating, if I'm on board and they're not, and they're the reason the whole deal is held up, I'll ask this question to them and simply ask, what will it take for us to move forward? And I see your point that if they act now, they still have more equity, but later on, either you foreclose and you're at the hand of an investor who wants to just cash out at what the payoff is, or you just let it all go. So
Is occupied?
This property? No, vacant. It was very tough. I didn't want to take too much time today, just to like bullet point the whole conversation. Wife died, husband died, had 3 kids, really bad blood with almost all 3 kids. I don't know how that happens. The older son, Lester, has sister who lived in mom and dad's house and she passed away too, had a brother, Jerry, who passed away as well. So the sibling brother has 2 sons, sibling sister has a daughter, and he's still alive. So it was a big mess. And I was only talking to the big brother who was the main decision maker. And he was just adamant that I want $8,000, otherwise I wouldn't even look at it. And the deal fell apart the very first time in January and December timeframe because 8,000 number didn't happen because at that time I was handling it as a listing agent. I brought an end buyer, got him to do everything.
But what type of notes on it, Rosie?
What type of note it is on it?
Yeah, what kind of mortgage? Is it just a conventional?
I have to check. I think it was FHA originally because they were the original owners. And they never refied. They were really old school people. And I think when they let their daughter move in, she stopped making payments for 2 years. So the property had deceased owners for over almost a year and a half at this time.
What kind of conditions is it in?
Bad.
Yeah, if it were in fairly decent condition, I would say take it sub 2 and ride it out.
I'm actually buying it. So we actually turned it around because I couldn't sell it as a listing agent 4 months later, or 3 months later, I would say, I literally told the deal didn't work out because the person who's bringing me the end buyer, I can see there was more cushion in the deal. He was not bringing his price up to make it work. But the market also shifted since January too. Austin is like really crazy right now. So I told my investors, I said, what if we approach this deal as a buyer? So I approached it this time as a buyer, and rather than 8K, he's getting 20K. And that's what's sitting at the earnest money from our investor. And we're going to flip it. He didn't want to deal with anything. And I think his main hangup was that within 8K, it was not enough for him to get all the heirs on board to sign off on AOH, then seller information form sheet is needed to order the loan payoffs, debt certificates. Like, he didn't even know any debt certificates, any social security numbers, nothing. By the way, a little tip for everyone. If y'all don't know the marriage date, there's something called family Bible. I just learned this in this transaction. So you ask one of the heirs if they have family Bible. And some of the times on the back of family Bible, there's everybody's birthdays and everything. I don't know if you're going to need it, but if anybody's doing affidavit of heirships, I have done one and I think I'm an expert at it now. You're going to need it. So family Bible is something you can ask for. But hey, look through it to find more dates. So.
And you're in Texas.
Thank you. Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
All right.